What's happening, my friends? Today's episode is brought to you by AirTurn, manufacturers of mobile mounting hardware and wireless app controllers. AirTurn offers tools for seamlessly executing your performance the way you want. Check out airturn.com and use the code Roadie for exclusive deals. What's up, Roadies? My name is Larry Milburn, and this is Roadie Free Radio, your VIP pass to meet and greet the stars behind the scenes of the music and film business. All right. What's happening, Roadies? Welcome back to another fantastic episode of Roadie Free Radio. This is your host, Larry Milburn, and I am coming at you from a barn in Northwest Connecticut. How are you? How was your week? How are you doing? Most importantly, how was your weekend? Did you work? Did you have a gig, man? I hope you did. It's great to have you all here. I appreciate you swinging by. If it's your first time listening to Roadie Free Radio, thank you for stopping by. I encourage you to head back in the archives. We've got 143 episodes before this one for you to check out, so please do so. Subscribe to us on iTunes if you have not done so already. Leave me a rating and a comment. I'd really appreciate it. It means a lot and helps us out grow the show. So today we got something a little different. We're going to do something a little different. I do not have an interview today. Today is a story. It's story time with your Uncle Larry here. I'm going to break down for you how the hell I arrived here at Roadie Free Radio, the podcast, after making Roadie, the short film that came out 15 years ago this June 25th, as a matter of fact. It aired, or premiered, I should say, in New York at Symphony Space, and just prior to that in Los Angeles at a place called Cinespace. And so this is the tale of that. But before we get to that, do not forget the Black Bear Americana Music Festival happening in Goshen, Connecticut will be happening Columbus Day weekend, October 11th, 12th, and 13th. The lineup keeps growing, but most of it is up right now. Our good buddy Jason Spooner from the Jason Spooner Band will be there with his guys rocking out Saturday night. Uprooted will be there, which is a faction or so of the band Rusted Root. You can head over to blackbearmusicfest.com, learn more about the event that's happening. It's 3 days of camping and food and music and crafts and fun and kids and family. It's going to be awesome. I will be there, hopefully selling some merch. I will definitely be there shooting some content and getting some interviews with the crew, which is the whole thing is put on by an organization called Power Station Events, located in Cheshire, Connecticut. They are one of Connecticut's sort of premier all-in-one production companies. They do everything from audio and video, weddings, DJs, live events, TED Talks, the whole thing. They got the whole package. So we're going to get some great content from them. We're going to do some artist interviews, some man on the street, audience member stuff, festival goer stuff, and we're gonna cover this festival and make it groovy. So head over to blackbearmusicfest.com to learn more. If you're going, hit me up at info@roadiefreeradio.com. And one last thing before we get started on today's episode and this tale, I want to let you know that we are also sponsored by my friends over at showprobeardco.com, started by live audio engineer Chris Wilson, the audio wizard, as he is known on YouTube. He and his wife have created their very own unique formula of beard balm that not only performs well in terms of health and nourishment, but also provides the control, shine, and pleasant aroma that any bearded professional would appreciate. And these are non-waxy, all-natural beard balms that will leave your beard soft, smooth, and nourished. Choose from a variety of natural smelling scents like Home Sweet Home, Morning Wood, Through the Woods, Chain Motor Oil, and of course, Original Unscented. If you use the code Roadie, you get yourself 20% off when you check out. I have used these beard balms, people. I've told you about it. They smell great. They feel great. It's just super nice after you roll out of bed, take a quick shower, throw on some beard balm, tame that wild woolly mammoth that's on your face, and get out there for the day. So use the code Roadie, get yourself 20% off over at showprobeardco.com. And you're not only supporting me by doing that, but you are supporting Chris Wilson, who, as I said, is a live touring engineer, and this is his little side baby. So showprobeardco.com, get on it. All right. I realized that I've never really, well, a couple things. I realized first that this summer marks the 15-year anniversary since my short film Roadie came out. And so that's a milestone. And then it also just ties in, obviously, with the podcast, which I'm going to get to, and all the amazing things that have come out of it. And that was the first thing I realized, the milestone. Secondly, I've never really in one place for the audience laid out how I got to the podcast, how the podcast started, and how it really all rolls back to creating this film. So I thought, since we're in the summer, since we've just also celebrated the Woodstock 50th, man, we're all just a summer of milestones and anniversaries. I thought, why not take an episode, break it all down for you. And, if you got questions, you want to hear more, I can do some subsets because there's a lot to cover, but I'm not going to go too deep. But I did want to, I wanted to put this story out there for those of you that are curious. As I said, there's no guest on this week's episode. It's just me talking to you about this whole story. And if you want to stick around and listen to it, I'd appreciate it. If not, I get that too. Thanks for swinging by. Like I said, head over and check out some previous episodes. All right, so let's go back. Summer of 2002. I'm living in LA. I'd been there for almost 10 years at that point. And I was an actor and a musician. And I was working. I had a bunch of stuff on TV. I had a couple of Amex commercials going. I was doing some guest star stuff on some sitcoms. That was the focus, really, was the music and film and television. Excuse me. And I had an opportunity to star in a film. This you're gonna love. I was a working actor, all right? Like I said, I was doing TV. I did a couple soap operas, TV, other stuff, some independent films. One of my favorite films growing up, like a lot of us in this age range, if you're in your 40s or early 50s, was Top Gun. I was obsessed with Top Gun, and that led me to discover more and more of Tony Scott's films, Days of Thunder, Crimson Tide, all the good stuff. So 2002, I'm working away, and with all this stuff that I was doing and the shows that I was booking, I was doing them all myself and booking them all myself. I had no agent. I had developed casting director relationships basically on my own. And they would just call me at home and ask me to come in and read for stuff. So it was great, but I wanted to broaden my horizons. Even with all the stuff that I was getting on my own, I met with a ton of agents. I still couldn't get an agent to rep me for whatever reason. They'd all say, do you have anything else? What else is going on? Let me know the next time you're in something. And I'd be like, I'm walking in here. I've made 50, 60 grand this year on commercials alone. What more? And I'm on General Hospital in 2 hours. What else do you need me to bring in for you? So it was frustrating. Around that time, I had a chance I had the lead role in a mockumentary called Big Time. Now, if you scour through Amazon and the Amazon movies and you want to rent this thing, you can find it. I'm giving you something deep here. It's called Big Time, the movie, I believe. Definitely called Big Time. I can't remember if it's Big Time, the movie, whatever. It's a mockumentary about the adult film industry. Imagine Boogie Nights meets Spinal Tap. And I played the lead role. My name, you wait for it, was Girth Brooks. And basically, in a nutshell, we went to Vegas to the adult video convention, dressed up as porn stars, rented a booth, and tried to sell films that didn't exist. Now, the director, the filmmaker of this thing, is a good buddy of mine named Jerry Heiss. Jerry was Tony Scott's assistant, and this was Jerry's first film, leaving Tony Scott's world and saying, Tony, I'm striking out on my own. This is the project I want to do. Will you help me? And Tony Scott said, yeah, man, I will executive produce this film for you. So I've got the lead in this film. We do the whole thing in Vegas. Tony's a big part of it. I now get to go and hang out and check out Tony Scott's office in Hollywood, which is just unbelievably cool. And I'm in that world now. And I can't get an agent to save my life. for all this work that I'm getting. So I finally said, all right, screw it. If you need me to show you one other thing, me to draw you a picture of me carrying something, that's what I'm going to do. I will make a short film. And with all these contacts through Tony's World and whatnot, I will write it and I will star in it and I'll produce it. I was going to get another director, all this kind of stuff. And it took several different permeations. What ended up happening was the director I got, who's now gone on to do a lot of amazing stuff, good for him. He just thought this was some of the kids, little side project to do. So he wasn't taking it very seriously. So I brought in two producers. One of those producers was someone I hadn't met that was referred to me. And she basically said in our meeting, look, if I take this on and help you produce this film, because I was going to raise all the money myself, I was going to shoot it on 35 millimeter film, because at that point in 2002-ish, you couldn't quite find the direct link to make something shot on video look like film, right? So I was going to shoot it on film, and it was basically going to be my calling card to get an agent. So she says, if I come on and I do this film for you, you've got to fire the director and direct it yourself and be in it and write it and all that kind of stuff. I said, you're totally crazy. I haven't directed a film ever in my life. And she said, no, you can do this. You wrote it. The next morning, I met with Tony Scott's other assistant, Tom Moran, good buddy. And unbeknownst to Tom that I'd had this meeting, we talk about him coming on as well to help me produce it. Because at that point, I'd sort of had the hook. In 2002, I'd had the hook that I wanted the film to be an homage to Top Gun. And I'm going to deviate here for a second in that coming up in the next week or so, we're going to get an interview with my buddy Ruben, who is the actual Ruben, the roadie guy, that he and I riffed on this character and it became what it became. Anyway. So he'll be coming up. So you got to listen to that. Anyway, so I do this meeting with my buddy Tom. And he basically says, all right, dude, I will come on. You can have the full help here of whatever I can bring you from Tony's office, but you got to fire the guy that you brought on to direct it as well, because he's not working out, and you got to direct it. And I was like, wow, that's totally crazy, because I just met with someone who said the same exact thing. And I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And he said, no, you can do it. So anyway, so now I'm going to direct this thing. I'm in it. I write maybe 20 different versions of the script. I get Danny Motor, Julia Roberts' husband, to shoot the thing for me because I had been in a short film that he had shot previously. And with the help of Tony Scott's office, we set out to shoot this film of mine called Roadie, which was basically going to be an homage to Top Gun told through the world of roadies for a rock band, where I would play the quote unquote Tom Cruise character who was the best of the best, but I had some demons that I had to get over before I got that big tour. It's totally ludicrous, this idea. Totally ludicrous. And those of you in the industry who may or may not have seen it, you know how fucking ludicrous it is. But that was the idea, and I was going to make it look super cool and as slick as I possibly could. So called in a ton of favors, raised a bunch of money from back home, and we shot it on 35 millimeter film over the course of about 5 days in and around LA, over at Center Staging in LA, which I believe is still there, over by the Burbank Airport. And with the help of an incredible cast of crew members and characters and actors and just people and support, I got through it. So 2002, I come up with the idea, script it all out. 2003, we shoot it, and it came out in 2004. And I'm glossing over a lot of the stuff here in terms of the making of the film, which I'm happy to dive into. Again, if you guys are interested, hit me up and I can give you some more tidbits about it. But it was an amazing experience. Literally everything from hanging out with Julia Roberts, having Julia Roberts come to the set on my birthday. One of the shoot days was my birthday. in 2003, and Bring Me My Birthday Cake was, that's a highlight. Let me tell you, if you haven't had Julia Roberts deliver your birthday cake, you're missing out. It was pretty epic. So that happened. A lot of cool stuff like that. When we did the editing part, I should frame this in another way too for you. Tony Scott was making Man on Fire with Denzel Washington and Dakota Fanning at the time. So while we were in production, while we were shooting the film, while we were casting the film and all that stuff, Tony was down in Mexico doing Man on Fire. So Tom, who was his assistant, was still in LA and basically let me have the run of the office. So I was holding meetings in Tony's office. We were meeting with production, key production people out of Tony's office. We did our casting out of their commercial offices down in West Hollywood. It was pretty amazing. When we got done filming, it also happened to coincide with Man on Fire wrapping up their film shoot schedule, and they came back to Hollywood and hunkered down at their RSA studios to do the post-production. So then what happened was we got to piggyback on top of their post-production process for Man on Fire, and they would come in and edit Man on Fire during the day on their Avid systems, and at night, I would come in with my editor at 8 o'clock at night, and we would work till about 2 in the morning editing on top of their systems. And this went on for probably 4 or 5 months. I had one editor who was terrible, and I let him go off and give me a cut, and it didn't work out at all. And then I brought on another guy, and that's when we set up at RSA and got the film completed. I had one editor for the main whole film, and then I had another editor who helped me with the opening sequence with all the films flashing. If you haven't seen the short film Roadie, it's on our website at roadiefreeradio.com. You can find it there. Have a look, and remember, it's tongue in cheek. It's an homage to Top Gun, but it's really it's my sexy, glorious look at the world of roadies, which I had never been a roadie before. I was a musician, and I just was fascinated with the idea. First of all, I always loved what that community was about and the hard work that they put into it. And I wanted to just find this hook and a way to make it kind of cool. And I was fascinated with the idea of like the over-obsessed roadie. That's kind of where this whole thing started. It was just like the guy that would rent, a cube truck for one acoustic guitar for a guy who was doing an open mic night. That's sort of the crazy, part of where this thing came from, was just the over-obsessed roadie who was prepared for everything. Too prepared for everything, as it were. Anyway, so it was an amazing process. We get through the shoot, get through the editing, and the film comes out in May of 2004. And at that point, through the whole process of making this film, I decided I did not want to be an actor anymore. The entire thing completely changed my life. The favors that people offered me to help make the film, the people that I met, and really the process of corralling the troops and producing a film led me to believe I don't want to act anymore. I want to make movies and films, whatever. This is what I want to do. So I went into it as an actor who wanted to get an agent, and I came out of it as basically someone wanting to be a filmmaker. And it completely changed my life. That was the first level. And I got to just tell you, along the way, there were so many random little omens or signposts. The very last day, the last night of shooting, we shot a sequence where I'm like looking out this window of my apartment or whatever out to downtown LA. And when we finished shooting that, it was probably 5:30 in the morning. I hop in my car and I'm heading back home. And as I hit the 10 freeway, I shit you not, Jackson Browne's The Roadie song comes on. It gave me chills. I'm getting chills right now thinking about it. And I can remember driving down the freeway in LA at 6 in the morning as the sun's coming up, hearing that song. And I just thought, all right, man, this is it. We're in. I'm in. That is good mojo. It was incredible. And anyone who was part of the filming or the crew or whatever, if you're listening to this episode, again, a very big and heartfelt thanks for sending me on my way, as it were. All right, so we get the film done. It comes out in May of 2004 at Cinespace. Ian Copeland's in the movie. That's a whole other piece I just glossed over. I didn't even get to that. Ian Copeland, brother of Stuart Copeland. If you guys been listening to the show, you know who Ian is. Ian made his mark in this industry in the 70s and 80s. He helped launch the new wave movement of artists and whatnot as their booking agent and whatnot. The guy was amazing. He was in the film. That was huge. That's a whole other story how I booked that guy, but we're not going to get into that now. So, movie comes out. And I want to be a filmmaker now. So that's the path I'm on. And my thought with the film was like, all right, look, if I can get this film, this short film, on every tour bus, crisscrossing the nation, then I've done my job. Great. That, of course, didn't happen right away. But it did start getting out there. We picked up a couple little awards at some film festivals. I got to talk at a couple of film festivals. And that was all cool. And I, kept on my path of now, all right, trying to get stuff out there, trying to get gigs as a director. I did a few more short films as a director and an editor, started learning about editing. And in 2005, as you all know, I'm a big Black Crowes fan. I mean, I talk about it all the time. Black Crowes, Magpie Salute, Chris Rich, Mark Ford, you name it, I'm in. In 2005, the Black Crowes headline the Long Beach Blues Fest in near Doheny State Park or something like that. I don't know. It's below LA. And I had these t-shirts that I had made up for the film to help market the film. The Got Roadies t-shirt. That's the original shirt that I had for the film. Got Roadies like got milk. So my then girlfriend and I head down to the Long Beach Blues Fest. I believe it's her first Black Crowes show that I took her to. And we go down to the Long Beach Blues Fest. I've got a backpack filled with the DVDs and the t-shirts, all with the desire to hand them out. Here you go. Spread the word. Do whatever. At one point, before the Black Crowes come on, I give the backpack to my girlfriend and I'm listen, get backstage, try to hand these things out, see if you can find anyone in the Black Crowes camp. Now, outdoor festival, it was not very secured. I don't know how she did it, but she got back there. 20 minutes later, she comes running back out. She's got no backpack, nothing in her hand. She was like, oh my God, you're not going to believe this. I just ran into these couple of guys that were carrying Black Crowes set lists. And I said, hey, are you guys are the Black Crowes? They said, yes. She gives them the backpack with the t-shirts and the movies and says, here, this is for you. My boyfriend made this. Here you go. And off they went, and she came running out. And I was like, okay, I'm done. That's it. The show was great. I've done my part. Hopefully someone will watch this movie. That's 2005. The next year, 2006, was when MySpace was happening, and I had created a Roadie MySpace channel. So I go on there, and I just started doing some digging on MySpace just to see if anyone was talking about the short film, because it had a little following on MySpace. And I find this guy who has a comment that basically is like, hey, if you haven't seen the film Roadie, and then in parentheses, not the one with Meatloaf, but this other one, this short film with Larry Milburn, you got to check it out. It's hysterical. And I thought, who the hell is this guy? So I write him on MySpace. I'm like, buddy, who are you? How did you find this film? I'm the filmmaker, blah, blah, blah. And he writes back and he's like, oh man, I was with the Black Crowes last summer, and this girl came backstage and gave us a bag of t-shirts and DVDs, and everybody loved it. We used to watch the film all the time. Mark Ford wore your shirt on stage, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I'm done. I thought, well, that's enough. I've done it. That's all I need to do. My favorite band and my favorite crew, who I didn't even know they were my favorite crew at the time, have got my stuff. They've got the film. They've watched it. Done. Great. That's 2006, people. In 2013, fast forward, I've now moved back to the East Coast, let go of that girlfriend, got a new girlfriend, got married, and I take my wife, who's my present wife, I only got one wife, and we go to the to Terminal 5 in New York City to see the Black Crowes on that last tour. It's my wife's first Black Crow show. So as the guys are coming out and they're burning the incense and all this stuff and they're saging the stage and getting things set, I'm pointing out to her, what they're doing. I don't know anybody's name at this point, pointing everything out. And we're getting super excited for the show. Dr. John opened the show, by the way. That was the one we went to. It was also the day that Lou Reed died. And the Black Crowes come out. They rip it up. It's good stuff. One of the encores, I believe, was Oh Sweet Nothing. And anyway, the next morning, we're in bed. My wife's asleep. I pull out the laptop and I'm like, I'm going to do a little guitar porn. I'm all fired up on the Black Crowes show. Let's see if Rig Rundown has a little, a Premier Guitar has a rig rundown basically for Rich and what he's using these days. And let me geek out for a little bit early on a Sunday morning before anybody's up. And lo and behold, Rich has a new rig rundown. So I hit play. And on the screen, it's not Rich. It's the guy from Premier Guitar. And it's this guy named Doug Redler, who's Rich's guitar tech. And he's going to take us through Rich's instruments. So I'm like, okay, I'll watch this guy. This will be interesting. And Doug Redler is wearing a Got Roadies t-shirt. Now, there weren't that many of them out there. And I was like, whoa, that dude is wearing the shirt that he must have gotten back in 2005 at the Long Beach Blues Fest. And obviously he's wearing the shirt throughout the whole interview. It's a half-hour interview, and I can't believe it, and I'm freaking out. So I do some digging on who Doug Red Guitar Redler is. And turns out he's got a book that he had just put out, The Guitarist's Guide to Maintenance and Repair. Rich had done the foreword to it. There's a website, I think, or an email address. I basically tweet this dude. I email him, Facebook, everything you could possibly do. I write him, and I'm like, dude, how did you get that shirt? I'm the guy. I made that movie. And a few days goes by. I mean, and let me just frame this for you guys. I can't believe that this has happened. I'm in shock. I woke my wife up immediately to show her the video. I'm totally in shock that I'm watching the guitar tech for my favorite band and favorite guitarist wearing my t-shirt in a video about them. Totally blew my mind. I write to him. I wait. It took about 5 days. And those like the 5 longest days of my life. And basically on the 5th day or something, I get an email from Doug and it says, Ruben, in big capital letters, which is my name in the movie. Ruben, where are you? The bus just erupted with applause that you wrote us. Where are you? How do we find you? We've been watching your film for however many years that was, 2000 and about 8 years or something. We make everybody new to the crew watch the film. And how do I get to meet you, man? And I was totally floored. You've got a following. We recite your lines every day when we're working, all this kind of stuff. And I think he's full of shit, and I can't believe it. And so I end up sending Doug a box of new films and all new t-shirts. I wrote him and said, how many guys are on the crew? He told me. I get all new t-shirts made, send them all that stuff. And a couple of days later, he posts a picture with Drew Consalvo, who was doing monitors, I believe, at the time for the Crowes. And it's the two of them, thumbs up, holding the DVD over a Black Crowes flight case. And I'm totally floored. And there's a billion comments underneath of people either trashing the movie, saying it's the dumbest thing in the world, or people standing up for the movie, saying it's hysterical, whatever. It didn't matter. The fact that this was even happening just blew my mind. So Doug and I stay in touch. And at the time he was living in Brooklyn, and we agreed to meet when the tour got done, which I think in January, February. So my wife comes in with me and we meet Doug in Brooklyn at some diner or something. And it was awesome. And basically we've become buddies ever since. And through that next couple of years, as we're talking, he was like, dude, you got to do something else. You can make the next movie. You got to do something like, there's definitely a little following behind this thing. And it would just be cool to sort of capitalize on it. And, he knew scenes from the movie that just blew me away. And so anyway, it started me thinking, I thought, well, I'm not going to make another movie. I don't have the resources to do that. But what can I do to, to kind of keep this community going or keep the messaging out there? And so it was around 2012. And I'm driving to Nashville to work on a documentary about a slide guitar record that had been made. And I started listening to podcasts. Podcasts had started to pop at that time. Mark Maron with his WTF podcast was getting pretty big. And as I'm listening to these podcasts, I'm thinking, holy shit, I can do this. I spent, the last few years in LA that I was living there producing and editing behind the scenes featurettes with celebrities and whatnot, doing DVD bonus features for films and television and all this. And I know how to talk to people. I can do this. I just hadn't put together what a podcast was. So I did some research, and literally on that drive, my friends, I came up with the name Roadie Free Radio. And I just thought, it's something sort of by the people, for the people, to give back to this community of people that work in the shadows that nobody really knows, but everybody needs to know. And needs to know that they're there, and needs to know that what they do is important, and just as important, if not more so, than what the artists on stage are doing. Because without them, there would be no show. So I had the name, started thinking of a logo. It ultimately took me another year before I pulled the trigger and just started the show. I had a client stuff I had to get done and some other projects, and just thinking about what style of show I was going to do and this and that. So I launched the show, and here we are. We're 144 episodes later. Now, the crazy part about this too is that when I I'm rambling now. When I meet Doug, he's like, oh, you got to meet Drew Consalvo, because Drew is also a huge fan and loves the movie. And somehow through that, I also met Steve Walsh. And Steve Walsh, if you guys have heard that episode that I did, Steve's a monitor engineer. He's with Eighth Day and Claire. He's been all over. He was with the Crows for a while too. Steve ended up being the guy back in 2005 that I had reached out to on MySpace. How crazy is that? And we talk about that in our episode. So if you want to hear that little tidbit, head back and find Steve Walsh's episode, and we break it down. That was pretty crazy. So between Walsh and Drew Consalvo and Doug Redler, that pretty much solidified the circle. And then, of course, Randy Brown, my man Randy Brown as well, big fan. So anyway, to bring it all full circle, we launched a show in 2016, in May of 2016. And in 2018, in January, I go to the NAMM show for the first time, which again, if you've been listening to this show, that was a big experience and I had a great time. But here's the crazy part. The Black Crowes had broken up. The Magpie Salute had formed, the original incarnation with the singers and all that. And they do a special show at the Vox booth, or Korg booth, Vox, Korg, whichever one it is, at the NAMM show. And Doug texts me and says, dude, we're going to be there. You got to come, blah, blah, blah. So we go. And now I'm at the NAMM show as Roadie Free Radio with my friend Paloma, my buddy Charlie, and we're getting content and we're shooting stuff. So I'm at the NAMM show, which I'd never been to, as Roadie Free Radio. And I'm in the Vox little live stage thing, whatever the hell they had, showcase room, if you want to call it, watching the Magpie Salute and watching Doug do his thing and tune guitars and whatnot. And this is going to sound whatever, sappy. I get totally overwhelmed because I'm like, holy shit. Here I am at this show in a room full, a handful of people watching basically the band that I love with the tech that's become a friend. And it all goes back to making this silly short film in 2003 and the weird winding ways that it made its way through the world and brought me back here. And then to fast forward from there in later 2018 or 29, I don't even know where we are, 2018, 2019. Now I'm shooting content at shows for the Magpie and getting those things seen. Totally crazy. And all that does for me, is to solidify and reassure me that if you've got a dream or you've got the desire to create something and put it out there, you may not know where it's going to go. You don't have to know necessarily where it's going to go. That if you want to get it done, man, that's the beauty, is you never know where it's going to lead you. You never know how it's going to change your life. That short film, Roadie, completely changed my life back in 2004, 2005. Set me away from being an actor, put me behind the camera, and set me on my path as an editor and a filmmaker. This show, Roadie Free Radio, with the support and the audience that we've created here, has completely changed my life as well. When I started this show completely just as it's going to be a side thing. Work was pretty slow that year. I'll just put this out and we'll see what happens. And within the first 2 or 3 episodes, I was blown away I knew I was going to like doing it. I didn't realize how much I was going to love doing it. And the community that's opened up and the people that I've met along the way and just the support and everything and the opportunities that have come out of this. And I mean, are you kidding me? Standing front of house position with Robert Scoville watching a Tom Petty show, what was going to be one of Tom's last shows. Are you kidding me? Unbelievable. And then at the next show to be sitting behind Greg Looper at monitors, Tom Petty. What? All the Magpie stuff I've gotten to do, all the amazing people I've gotten to talk with and get those stories out and the opportunities. And just, those of you listening that have been on the show and that have had me at your shows or in your space or on your bus or whatever. I mean, holy shit, Bobby Tees, standing next to Bobby Tees on stage for a Tedeschi truck show because of the show that I'm doing. It's just, I don't even know what to tell you. It just blows me away. And there's been so many of you that have been so helpful in finding new guests and creating opportunities. Night Bob, all of you guys. I'm just floored every day that I do this show, and that I think that it started with this one little kernel of idea of how can I make the world of roadies fun and exciting and just something cool. And so I got to thank you guys. And here we are, 144 episodes later. We're in almost every major country that doesn't ban me for dropping F-bombs. And it's all supported by you guys. And it keeps growing every day, every week, more stories, more good stuff to come. So we got sponsors. I'm going to drop a sponsor right now based in Chicago, Stagehands Clothing. If these guys, let me tell you something, Set Tools, was a big sponsor of the film Roadie way back in the day, basically with like merch and all kinds of stuff that we could use for production value and everything. But if Stagehand Clothing was around back in the day, they would have been part of it for sure. They're a part of this show. They are based in Chicago. This is a husband and wife team. They've created the one-stop shop for backstage professionals who are always working hard behind the scenes and count on high-quality, durable workwear just like you people. They carry everything from men's and women's apparel and plenty of super cool gear to keep you ready for the next task. If you use the code ROADIE, you get 20% off your entire order over there. There you go, guys. Stagehandsclothing.com. So that's it. That is the tale of how the film Roadie got made, basically in a nutshell, and how it ultimately led me to be behind the mic doing Roadie Free Radio. And everybody along the way that helped with the film, that helped grow the podcast, helped start the podcast with me, and everything in between. A serious, heartfelt thanks for helping me to find this dream, find this voice, create this community. And again, to all of you roadies and techs out there that have had me backstage, that have been on the show, I can't thank you enough. I'm humbled by the access that you've given me and by allowing me into your world. I appreciate it, and I thank you for everything that you do, and I thank all you guys, and I want you to stay tuned for next week's episode number 145. During the week, you can follow us at Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify, all as Roadie Free Radio. Check out the damn website, roadiefreeradio.com. Send me a note because you know I want to hear from you. That's info@roadiefreeradio.com. And as always, motherfuckers, you all be safe out there. No roadies, no rock and roll.